Welcome back, you guys, to another episode of this podcast. You'll probably notice it's a little bit of a different setup we got going on today. Chris is gone. He's out for the day, and we've got some stories that involve research and showing you things on the computer. So I moved over here. What?
I'm gonna sneeze. Just keep going.
Oh, okay. I thought you didn't record.
No. I see.
Karen's about to sneeze, but yeah, we've pushed the table closer to the computer, so temporarily this is what the setup's going to look like. So
yeah, and if for some reason you probably won't notice, if you hear some more noise, it might be from my microphone because I'm right below a ceiling fan. But I doubt it's too bad.
Yeah. Well, guys, I'm going to get right into what I wanted to talk about today, and there is some drama going on here in Kansas that has to do with a art museum in El Dorado. So it's called the Coots Museum of Art, located in El Dorado. And so I know of this place because they actually gave me a scholarship when I went to El Dorado for photography. And so in my downtime, I would, like, in between classes, I'd go there sometimes and just like chill in there. And it was a really peaceful place, and there's some really cool art and shit. But they have been not in the news, but just all over Facebook lately. Okay, nice. So this all started August 7th of this month. Okay. Now they made a post originally saying, our newest exhibit, Chromatic Hallucinations by... Okay, here's another thing.
Yeah.
The person in question.
Yeah.
It's public record that it's their full name and what they did.
Yeah.
Should we use it? Or should we try to be safe about it and just use first names?
That's fine. First names are fine.
Just first names?
I mean,
just to be safe?
I don't think it matters because, like you said, I mean, it's in other articles of stuff.
Yeah.
It's not like we're talking about something we're revealing.
Yeah.
We're just commenting on something that's...
You know what? I'll say the full name.
Okay.
I'll say the full name.
Let's do it.
Yeah. It's on the Facebook page. It's on the Kansas government website and all that stuff. It's fine. So they made a post saying, the Coots Museum of Art, saying, our newest exhibit, Chromatic Hallucinations by Sean Christopher Ward, opens today and will be up through the end of September. The show can be seen in person. Our hours are 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Tuesday, Friday, on our virtual tour, and then gave a link to a museum virtual tour. Now, the photo that they posted was of a huge piece of that art, and it's interesting looking art and everything like that. But anyways, that was the original post. All is fine. Like, they're just updating their followers about a new showcasing.
Yep.
Now,
pretty normal post looking thing.
This is where I started seeing some of my own friends comment on it. And I don't know if any of them will watch this podcast, but shout out to Kristen for initially like kind of sharing it and showing people what was really going on. This post blew the hell up because apparently Sean Christopher Ward is on the registered sex offender list, and he was actually charged as a felony for attempted rape of a 24-year-old 10 years ago. And so, I mean, they just got completely bombarded with comments on the post. People saying, shame on you, this is ridiculous. Adds insult to injury, shame on this museum and everyone who allowed and approved this exhibition. Gross, this is a joke, right? No way, how sick and twisted. People are pissed. And later, so there's a lot of posts about it, and the next day, I guess hold on. Let me start. I'm sorry if I'm kind of all over the place, but this is our guy. This is officially on the KBI website, and Sean Christopher Ward. You can see that and we might not show this because it does have like addresses and stuff on it. But it was a felony. It was his conviction was in 2011. It says attempted rape, sexual intercourse with a person who does not consent, use of force in Wichita, Kansas. Victim age is 24. So people were just spamming the shit out of this page, showing his face, showing what he did. And then the next day, August 8th, the museum edited that original post. And so, really quick before you go on to that, hit stop recording and then re-record again. Okay. I can see the TV flashing, and I don't know if that's doing that thing where it's like every other frame or something. Oh, okay. So just to get it fresh again. Oh, yeah. I feel you. Okay.
But Yeah, like it's not doing it now. So I wonder if it like hits a limit and then it starts doing it and then it starts to go slow.
Well, keep an eye out.
Yeah.
Okay. So they what the Coots Museum of Art did was they went back and they edited their original post.
Okay.
Now they have yet to actually publicly address the artist himself and what's going on, but a day later they edit the post to say all donations to this exhibit and from visitors will go to the Family Life Center of Butler County Safe House. Donate today to help their work providing comprehensive services to the victims of domestic violence, child abuse, and sexual assault abuse. And
so
that, yeah.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
My first impression, with like being told these things firsthand, kind of right now.
Yeah.
That's not what firsthand
Just
means,
getting
but
the information.
Yeah. So my first opinion on just the whole donations where they go thing. I mean, I get what's happening.
Yeah.
I get the motivation of what's happening. But at the same time, knowing how people are, it seems like that's a questionable move.
Yes. It seems
because
like...
then you're using this guy to donate money to, which sounds like it's like we're taking advantage of him to put money into something that he's against maybe.
Yeah.
But that's not it. It also, to me, this, I don't know.
It's definitely them trying to remedy the situation by saying, no guys, look, like all the money donated is actually going to like domestic abuse victims and stuff.
Yeah, it's like saying like if a racist guy had artwork, and then you'd be like, yeah, well, we're gonna keep his artwork, but
we'll donate the money to
like lower income neighborhoods or like something like that. They'd come up with some donation thing to
which
do.
Which naturally and understandably pissed a lot of people off because instead of addressing it, instead of like saying that they're going to remove his art, which a lot of people were calling for, they didn't even address it at all. They just added this paragraph about donations to the local safe house. And this is that part is important because it's going to come in later about like how they publicly address the situation based on that new paragraph that they edited in. So that happened August 8th. And on the same... Okay, so the August 8th, the day after they made that first post, and they edited it to this, there were crazy protesters outside. I mean, there's a lot of... Not the protesters themselves are crazy, but there's just a lot of protesters outside. And they did a lot of... they made signs that said registered sex offender art show, rapist art show here, that kind of stuff. They took a lot of chalk and wrote stuff on the sidewalk outside and just kind of started a protest. And shortly after, on August 8th, the Coots Museum of Art's Facebook page added this extra paragraph in. Shortly after, they posted this photo. And it says, a big shout out to the El Dorado Fire Department. Thank you for cleaning our sidewalks. Like, holy shit, you guys. What are you doing?
In a little bit of a devil's advocate way, that's amazing.
It's it's got a sense of comedy to it for sure. I understand that. But like,
yeah,
wow.
What a not a great move, but a funny one.
It's just it's a very tone deaf response.
Yes,
and
for
like,
sure.
And the fact that they have refused so far to make any sort of statement about the guy himself and the backlash they're facing from having this guy's art in the gallery, instead of that, they post this. They choose to actually upload a photo of the clean sidewalk and shout out the local fire department.
And here's the thing, like a place like that, as much as to other people it may not be right, like I understand why they wouldn't be addressing any of it, but at the same time this little post here shows that they're also willing to just jab back, which is also not the right direction.
It's a huge red flag. I mean, that's like having a business getting like a crazy customer who felt like they were wronged, even though maybe it wasn't your fault at all, and they make a crazy like comment on a review. When you respond back to that
with your own little sly thing that you do,
saying, well, you shouldn't have, that's when you should have stopped. Like, that's not okay. Because, and this, in a way, is kind of that.
Yeah, because if you don't address anything, then eventually it's going to drown in the internet and everybody's going to forget.
Yeah,
so like,
for sure.
I mean, if your stance is, I'm not going to say anything, you need to keep that stance.
Right.
Now this is a jab.
And, of course, it pissed them off more. It just pissed more people off. And throughout the day... there's a lot of a lot of people were posting screenshots of their messages that they were getting back from the art museum when they would send emails about what was happening. And so here's a few of them. A response from the executive director, Tim Howard. He said, "Thank you for your email and your concern. Please do not mistake my lack of response as a lack of interest. I can assure you it's quite the opposite. If it were as simple as stating my point of view, I would have responded immediately. As a nonprofit, a response of any action that may any action that may be taken, especially one as serious and sensitive as this, takes our due diligence in investigating and researching the issue, as well as discussions with the board of directors, and so takes some time. Thank you for understanding Thank you for your understanding and patience while we work through this." Another one is, "Thank you for asking the question. It is a difficult and sensitive issue that we will be making a public statement about shortly." And then another one was...
So far,
yeah,
I don't see anything wrong with the responses.
Sure,
so far.
Sure.
Like, I get... But this all depends on how long it takes and what they choose to say next.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. These are very reasonable responses coming from a business standpoint, I feel like. Owning a place
because
like
everybody... They're in this weird position. And again, I'm the one playing devil's advocate a little bit. They're in this weird position where everybody else is reacting emotionally to something that maybe they just saw really quick and don't really know the facts on.
Don't have all the info.
Now, the facts are on the fucking internet. So, I mean, but, on a surface level, it would suck for them to swing and be like, holy shit, you know what, you're right. And then something come out a month later and be like, we didn't have all the story.
And they end up being the assholes. Yeah.
So, but it all is predicated on what comes out of their mouth and what they choose to do. Yeah,
the actions. This is a very kind of textbook way to respond to it. I feel like that anybody would do.
It's like a PR response.
Yeah, definitely. This last one says, "We understand your concern and appreciate your input. The Coots Museum of Art does not condone sexual violence. The museum empathizes and sympathizes with any victims of sexual violence and their families. In the same light, the museum does not support discrimination in the arts nor censorship of art. We assure you that the safety of our guests and staff is always top priority, this exhibit being no exception. The Family Life Center Safe House in El Dorado, Kansas is proudly a beneficiary for all donations we receive for chromatic hallucinations. To help those who have suffered, consider making a donation for this exhibit to support their work." Now, here's where it starts to get a little sketchy, because a lot of people were upset about this response because they say that the museum does not support discrimination in the arts nor censorship of art, yet they had the fire department come out and hose off all the chalk. Now, I know that's a little different, but
it's a little, but at the same time,
there's a bit of hypocrisy.
They should have considered that, knowing that response could come.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people were upset because them adding that last paragraph about, well, all the money going to it is going to be, like going to the safe house. Yeah. It's like, you only decided to put that in after everybody got super pissed off. Yeah. And now you're making it seem like that was the plan all along. And don't be mad at us. We had this set up. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I feel like one sentence of them being like, once this was brought to light, we made the decision to reach out to these people.
That would have been so much better.
It would have made it a little bit better. Yeah. Like it would have changed the feeling of that last paragraph, rather than being like, oh, so you're still trying to cover up that and make this seem like this was your plan.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Exactly.
Be just honest and be like, yo, we didn't realize this.
Yeah.
We still aren't going to take it down, but, we have a little way to make it, a little bit towards the other side, at least.
Yeah.
Kind of, I guess.
That'd have to be the best thing to do.
But,
so now this article, and this is another weird personal connection to the writer of this article, Deanna. She actually interviewed me at Tallgrass Film Festival, and she's like my Facebook friend now and stuff like that. So we talked and everything, and she's a very nice person, and she's kind of like El Dorado's writer. Like, she's usually coming out with articles about stuff going on in El Dorado. Now, the protesters claim that she was asked to go there and write by the museum director himself. I don't think there's any proof of that. So she goes out there and she conducts some video interviews and then writes a story. And I'll
restart the recording.
Okay, cool. And then I'll play you a section of that video interview.
They are protesting the past of the artist. The artist seems to have gone through a series of rehabilitation and is trying to make a better him and a better community. The museum really appreciates that we live in a country where we can where we have the First Amendment rights of free speech. And as a museum, we can't support censorship or discrimination based on someone's past. Just in the same way we respect the protesters' right to come out and say what they want to say, as long as it's peaceful and not in a harassing nature.
All I wanted was transparency. When it came to light that they had a convicted sex offender for their art show, nobody spoke on it. And the biggest thing that I get a response of is, oh, maybe he's done good since his conviction. Maybe he's made up for it. But if he really had, why wasn't it up in the forefront? Why didn't they say, like, hey, this is a convicted sex offender that we do have here? I mean, it didn't have to be the first thing they said, but it definitely deserved to be mentioned.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, I don't know, my personal take on that director, he made a lot of points about giving the benefit of the doubt to the protesters, just as he does to that guy. Everything he says about the protesters and how he supports their First Amendment right and they should have a voice too, it all kind of goes away when you think about them straight up calling the fire department and being like, you need to hose all this shit off, you know, and like all, and I know the chalk thing is probably not the biggest thing to focus on, but it's just hard to like forget about when you hear somebody talking about, you know, we gave this guy a chance, just like we give the protesters a chance to speak their mind, and like, you know, we support them too, you know, like he can't play both sides when on one, it's like, so he's taking the position of, it's an art community, they want to give equality to both sides. This guy, even though he messed up in the past, he deserves a second chance. He deserves a place to show off his art and make some money and like start a new life. And then he also says, in the same sense, the protesters have a right to be out there. They have a right to protest, and it's totally understandable that they're upset. They only did something to one of those groups, and that's the protesters, which was to just erase all of their shit on the sidewalk. Nothing else happened to the guy. You know what I mean?
This is. Here's my opinion on it. It might be different.
How are we on time, by the way?
Oh shit, yeah. 18 minutes. So
cool.
Here's where I think the worst part happened. Them posting about cleaning the sidewalks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because to me, they could have had the fire department clean the sidewalks and not said anything. Because to me, like, protesters can go there. That's totally fine. But it's also like, you know, at that point, that's like part of the museum's property too. So if they, you know, if somebody draws something on their shit and then they leave and it's just still there and all that's written on the sidewalk all over the place is sex offender this and all this shit, like, yeah, I mean, they can't keep that there, right? Like, but I think the problem is the jab, because the difference is like, you know, protesters are going to show up with signs, and then when they're done protesting, they leave the signs, and it's fine. Like, they're there expressing themselves right then. Yeah. It's not like, you know, temporary spray painting of something, which either way, they should have the right to do that. But then at the same time, the museum has the right to get rid of it. I just think the problem is the post basically being like, haha, we got rid of your drawings. Yeah. or your chalk.
I agree. He could have in that interview said, from a legal aspect, we needed to take down that chalk. Like, we needed to give them a break or something like that. But like, coming at it from the standpoint of, you know, how he said it's the communication, like how it's being addressed, it just makes it feel not genuine.
Yeah, it's not genuine sounding at all.
Which that's where the issue is.
And one issue too is like, okay, so now everybody's mad about tone at this point then, right? Yeah. Because at the same time, like, you know, right now what we're doing with is one of those things where now it's the court of public opinion, which doesn't really matter. Like, the people's opinion, as valid as it is, doesn't dictate how that place runs or how it operates. Sure. What it does, though, is that it gives them a good idea of if they're making good or bad choices. And apparently this was a bad one. Yeah. You know, when she said something about like, well, they should have at least said he was a sex offender. I don't agree with that. Yeah. I don't know why anybody would do that.
I don't either.
Because here's the thing too. Like, I'm sure we've had, the thing is now we just have the internet and all this like way of communicating. It's like, think back in like history or whatever. It's like, you know, like presidents and stuff, like old presidents back in the day and shit. It's like, you think some of those presidents weren't like abusive and fucking like shitty people and stuff, but like we just never saw it. Yeah, it's like it's just one of those things where it's like, it's not up to the museum to to do it. At most, they should have just been like, oh, actually, the show's canceled.
Yeah.
And they could have just not made a comment other than like, we had something came to light and we decided to not let the show go on. And it could have just been that, or they should have just put all their cards in like the show's going on and just not said anything.
Yeah.
It's just
I definitely feel that. I think that from the museum standpoint, they have an artist. It's not their job to research the artist, dig deep, and like figure out if they've done anything bad in the past before they show their art. But something like this pops up, and they have a choice of either to just completely cancel it or address it in a different way. And you can say too that like, you know, your argument about like you know, presidents and stuff like that being shady and shit like that. Like, of course, we've probably come across so many people in our lives that have done shady shit. Had we known about it, we would have had an issue with, but since we didn't, we were fine. And of course, in no way does that excuse the things they did, but
no, of course not.
But then you also have the issue of what if he actually is trying to like make a better life?
That's true.
But then you have the issue of there's a victim out there who's probably forever mentally scarred because of this one guy.
Yeah.
And does he get the honor of like having people, you know, see his show and donate money to him and everything like that? You know, like where does that come in? That's a whole different debate, but yeah.
And that's what's tough too, because like I agree they just shouldn't have shown his shit, but at the same time also like that it's hard to think of that too, because like what his conviction wasn't even like a full conviction of anything, right? Like it was an attempted rape.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, either way, if he was trying to rape somebody, it's a tough call. Like you can't fucking like let that go on.
In that sense though, does that mean if he actually did rape somebody, then he shouldn't have been able to show? But since he tried and like failed, then it's okay?
But like, I'm trying to think of this, like, would this be different? Would we be acting the same way if it was a drunk driver that killed somebody? You know? Like, if somebody found out, like, oh, he was a drunk driver, he had a DUI and actually killed a kid. Don't let his art be shown.
I think that's where the whole like the actual crime itself comes in, because there's a certain awareness about attempting to rape somebody.
It's like the action.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Like you've definitely got some pretty fucked up intent.
Because like if there was a murderer, like a guy who murdered somebody and somehow got out of jail, and we all knew he murdered somebody.
Yeah.
Nobody would want his art shown in that fucking place.
Yeah, totally. Exactly.
But it sucks because it's one of those things where like we're just in, that's our new world now, is that everybody gets to say their opinion, and it really does affect things.
I wouldn't have. I would have just, if I was the museum director, I would have been like, dude, sorry, like this sucks for us. It sucks for you.
Yeah.
But you did it, and we can't have that shit here. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're just gonna have to take it somewhere else.
Even if that's what sucks too, is like, dude, we're just getting so much bad publicity of this. It's like even if you're like, I'm not saying you did or didn't do it, but based on the information I found online and like people are sending to us, it's like we have to make a choice, and we just don't think it's in our best interest to move forward.
Well, the thing is like he was convicted, so like, a jury decided that he actually did it.
Yeah,
you know?
It's like I just based on all this information, it's not in our best interest to move forward with the show.
Sorry about it, dude.
Like.
But instead, they went on this journey, this route to not address it, and then to add the donations to domestic violence people, and then to do the little jab about the sidewalk stuff. It's just
a bunch of bad decisions.
Going about it the wrong way. Cool. Okay. And then in the actual article itself, aside from the video, she's got some quotes from the artist.
Okay.
Which is interesting. So let's see. I have no fear of talking about my past or how people will use it against me, like some individuals have been doing over this last month on social media, Ward said. It's been 10 years now, and I don't even have a speeding ticket on my record. I have been able to host 500 plus artists from around the world in my community and my gallery on my own dime. I have been able to host 70 plus musicians from around the Midwest for my community on my own dime. I have provided a safe space for everyone, no matter their gender, classification, skin color, to do what they love, and I've done everything I can help make their careers moving forward better than before. Ward said his sole mission in life is to redeem himself from his past actions and to help make his community a better place. I am not here to promote anything negative nor create spaces in which people cannot feel safe, said Ward. That's why people trust me now. I have earned that trust from the years of constant hate and disgust towards my actions, and I have not let it affect my progress forward to become an upstanding citizen and to help my community to the best of my ability and in a safe manner. He says that he cannot change the past. He wished he could. His actions, he said, but my actions 10 years ago do not define me indefinitely. They define that old version of me. I'm a firm believer that people who want to change can change, and that's why I've never judged anyone and provided any artist with space to express themselves in my galleries. There's one more. Oh, yeah. With respect to the protesters, Ward said these individuals have yet to reach out to me even once to talk about my history or anything of the sort. They just took it upon themselves to paint a picture of me in the public of the worst case scenarios they could think of. Though I am ashamed of my actions from 10 years ago, I am proud of the person I have become today. Not that there's any proof of it, but the protesters that were there on social media have all come out after this article was made and said they reached out to him. They tried talking to him before, and he blocked them from every single social media platform. Now, like I said, there's no evidence of that, but that's what they claim, and he claims that they never reached out to him. I am also a little uncomfortable with how often he mentions that it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, he keeps reminding everybody, like, hey, this is like a long time ago, guys.
Yeah.
Now, here, another devil's advocate conversation.
Sure.
So, if I was charged with attempted murder, right?
Yeah.
And I almost killed you.
Okay.
And I wanted to.
Okay.
but I did it.
Yeah.
But either way, you know that in my brain I was gonna kill you.
Yeah.
But I got convicted, all the shit.
And 10 years later.
And then 10 years later, I want to do something. Does that mean for the rest of his life he just should live in the realm of I'm a sex offender? Like, should he just maintain and just go everywhere and be like, you know what? I am doing this, but just so you know, I'm a sex offender from 10 years ago.
It's an interesting question.
Like, it's just a moral question. It's just like as much as we all hate, you know, the thought, it's fresh to us because we're learning about it.
Yeah.
But to him, he has lived with it his whole life, and he probably does super fucking regret it. Doesn't make it right, like he said. So it's one of those things like, so until he's like 80, should he just like make sure that he lives the part of a sex offender, or should he try to change or move on?
I'm definitely a strong believer that people can change.
True.
And he totally might have changed.
True.
But I feel like if you have changed and you are seriously a better person from who you are 10 years ago, you've got to, in a way, respect that person and that person's family who you probably fucked up a lot by not going into the public eye and like trying to make money and stuff.
Just,
you know what I mean?
Stay private.
Like, yeah.
Just work a job.
It's got to be like, at least in my eyes, if from that perspective, if I really did change, I would think the person who I fucked over the most is the most important person, you know, in my world right now, because that was my fault. I did that. And so wouldn't you think as a respect to that person, you would just try your best not to, I don't know. That's just a thought, but
it is tough because like at the same time, you know, the court that we have in place charged him with what he needed to be charged with and did the job of what we're all trying to do, which is accuse him and like make him suffer a little bit.
Yeah.
But according to how our country works, he's gotten that punishment and has like a record because of it, and probably can't get certain jobs because of it, and can't do certain things because of it because he's a felon and shit.
Yeah.
Which, like, and doesn't a felony drop off too? Like,
I don't know.
I thought I don't remember. I don't know either. But it's one of those things where it's like, okay, so now it's like the normal court system has done its thing that we all trust it to do, but we're also not happy with it.
Yeah.
Because it makes us feel icky.
And then,
you know,
yeah,
like it's a personal feeling that we're all just a team on.
And then I guess you think about like how sex offenders and people who have raped, like historically, that usually they get out like way earlier than their sentence ends, and like how our justice system works with rapists is like way better for them than it works for just minor drug offense people. Like there's a whole debate there, but like, so yeah, when does the legal part of like the court stuff matter, and then when does it not?
Yeah,
like it's
because at this point I feel like what it is to everybody else it's a fresh wound, because you know I've never heard of this, but you bring it up to me, and then immediately I'm a person that feels like this just happened. You know, I have my connection is like he just tried to rape somebody, even though I know it was a long time ago. Yeah, because it's just how our brains kind of associate things.
Well, we don't know anything else about him besides that he has art, and then that he did this.
That he did this, yeah. And it's one of those things too, where it's like in that time he has lived this full 10 years.
Yeah,
that he keeps reminding us.
Several times.
But like, so I mean. Shit, me and you have known each other just over 10 years. Yeah. So in that amount of time, how much have we changed as people?
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, like he's got that scar. He's going to have that scar.
For sure.
And then as devil's advocate right now, I don't think it's up to anybody else to fucking worry about it. It's not anybody else's problem.
Yeah, but
It's like it's like me. I have like if I have a drunk uncle, and one time he got drunk and hit me, and then for the rest of my life, I'm like, I don't trust you. You're gonna get drunk and hit me.
Isn't it? Yeah, isn't it kind of a public safety thing also at that point? Like you want to raise awareness for it because you don't want somebody like that to get the attention and shit like that in case for some reason it happens again or something.
Because I think the more appropriate response is like, okay, well, go protest outside of a courthouse and tell them like, yo, what the fuck? This just happened. Like, this should be harder sentencing, rather than like, don't show this guy's drawings. Like, you know, like either way. I think the museum made a wrong move. Yeah. The guy, like, you know, I even feel bad saying this kind of like the guy sucks for being like a rapist. Like, yeah. and I'm calling him a rapist even though his charge wasn't rape. It was attempted rape. Yeah. But he's a rapist. I mean, he had the full intention of raping somebody according to what our court says. Totally. So he's a monster.
Well, okay. And the thing is we've still got a little bit of this left.
Cool.
So
here's my whole thing is that I think people should vote with their interests. So like it's like one of those things where like when comedians started coming out and having like sexual assault cases and shit. Yeah. And they still started doing shows. Yeah. I think the best way to do that is to not cry on the internet, but to not ever pay for their shows. I think the tickets and the people showing up should be enough to tell the people like obviously the people don't like this, and you know of course there's gonna be comments and shit like that.
Well, I actually really like that point. It's it's
like vote with your wallet kind of.
We live in a free country where people that do that stuff, they're still able to try to make a life by doing things that they like to do and whatnot. Yep. And that's where these protesters come in. You know, they're standing out in front side of the thing, raising awareness. I mean, I was seeing all sorts of posts about people that had no idea what was going on, and then making posts about, I just drove by the art museum and I saw somebody say rapist art here. Like, what is that about? And now all these people know. And so there's a very strong chance that like that guy's not going to make any money because which in a way, like you said, is kind of a job well done, vote with your wallet type of thing by the protesters themselves. So that all was going on August 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th. On the 14th,
hit refresh on the screen.
Oh, yeah. On the 14th, an opinion article comes out. Okay. And the art museum chose to post a link to this opinion article and then pinned it to the top of their Facebook page. All right.
Why would they do that?
I know.
Because I'm all about just no one being involved. And then just nobody showing up. And then the museum being like, fuck, didn't somebody say something about him being a rapist? And then being like, oh, that's probably why nobody showed up. Let's not do that again. Let's make sure we vet people. Because, like, you know, a lot of it also goes back to me and you were talking the other day about, like, how now when you make a movie, like, what they do is they, like, check, like, the full history of these actors' Twitter accounts because they can't afford for a movie to be canceled because one person said some pervy thing 10 years ago.
That's so much money. That's so many people out of a job and all that stuff.
Which also sucks because, like, comedians have a hard time because comedians, like, test jokes on Twitter and shit. Like, they'll just, like, post, like, comedians' job is to post inappropriate and talk about inappropriate, dirty things and, like, funny things that people can relate to and shocking things. So now something on Twitter can be taken as, like, so now the world is changing to where you basically have to vet people if you ever plan on doing business with them, because it will reflect you badly.
That's crazy.
If one, you know, person at 3 a.m. is bored and they're like, you know what, I'm gonna go check this fucking comedian's Twitter account from, you know, 13 years ago or whatever, whenever Twitter fucking started. Yeah. It's like, and they're like, I don't like that. That's bad. Screenshot, post it on the internet. He's the devil now. Yeah. Like,
definitely.
It's tough. That's not what this is, but I'm just saying,
no, for sure.
Like, that's the world we're going into where, like, I mean, maybe they should have actually. I mean, but also, whose first idea would it have been to be like, let's look this guy up?
I know. Yeah, because like at some point, it's not their job originally.
And I want to know who figured it out.
I do too.
Like, was it a person, like I said, somebody bored just being like, let's see if I can hate on this guy, and be like, I definitely can. Or if it was somebody who knows who he is.
It's got to be because it was local. It happened in Wichita. You know, surely somebody like heard the name and was like, "There's no way that's the same guy," and then looked it up, and sure enough, it was.
They're like, how dare he fucking have any amount of like, you know,
yeah, definitely.
They're like, you know, they're probably close to the situation when it happened or something.
It could have been. They could have known the family.
That's probably where
we
it came from.
But so this opinion piece, man. Here we go. Says, last weekend, some folks from Wichita showed up in front of the Coots Art Museum to protest an exhibit titled Chromatic Hallucinations by Sean Christopher Ward. Ward is a registered sex offender who was convicted of attempted rape a decade ago. The Coots is taking a donation. Okay, here we go. The Coots is taking donations from visitors to the exhibits. Donations go to the Family Life Center Safe House. If you want to read a good news story about the controversy, click here to read Deanna's account of the Butler County Times-Gazette. I was initially sympathetic to the protesters' position. After speaking with the director and receiving lengthy and thoughtful email and statement from Ward, I believe our beloved museum and Safe House have collaborated to allow a man to continue his rehabilitation by exhibiting quality artwork and raising money for an organization that prevents violence against women. Now, again, this decision to raise money for this domestic violence safe house was made after the backlash.
Yeah, that's the problem, because this all sounds nice and everything.
It does, and if you read this,
don't consider that.
Yeah, if you read this without even knowing that, you think, oh, well, why are people so upset? Like, this guy's getting a second chance, and all this money is going to these domestic violence victims. Well, the whole issue is that the donating to domestic violence victims was a last-minute effort to like make the situation
course
okay.
Correct.
Yeah. But these people are acting like that was the plan the whole entire time, which is just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Here's where it gets a little weird. Our police and fire departments participated in the extent they were needed. Look at the word "our." So it says our police and fire departments participated in the extent they were needed. Our officers provided security. Our firefighters cleaned up chalk writings the protesters left in front of the museum. Both police chief and fire chief were quickly to respond to my inquiries about the matter in an honest, forthright, and transparent manner. How refreshing to have these community leaders tackle a controversial matter head on! ! They didn't run and hide. They didn't make lame excuses. They weren't defensive in their speech or their writings. Compare and contrast with the behavior of another local institution's administration, that the Butler Community College, concerning the Educare situation. I don't know anything about that, but it's,
I don't know why any of that needed said.
It's very, the words being carefully chosen: our police, our firefighters, and then the protesters. There's an our, and then there's an other, and the other is the protesters.
Yeah, this one person is placing all of the like first responder people of that city on the side of the museum, on their own,
which is in a
separating the protesters.
Yes, which using the word our as a reader,
as
you
if
think,
we're a group,
that's
we're
my
a team.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it says a lot that the museum pinned this on the top of their Facebook page. Yeah, it really rubs me the wrong way. I mean, if they really do, I mean, this is the arts. The arts have historically been like equality, like pro-equality, pro-choice. Like everybody needs to get the same opportunities, and like we need to treat everybody the same and all that stuff. Freedom of speech is good. The right to protest is good. All that stuff. Yeah. And it just really seems like they just don't. They think the protesters are the bad guys here. That's just like all I keep getting from the start to this thing that they have just pinned, which is the latest part of this story. Mm-hmm. It just seems like the museum itself is against the protesters and like not giving a shit about them.
Yeah. Which I guess, in all honesty, I think throughout history, whoever the fuck is protesting the opposite person doesn't like them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I guess they're right on par with the situation.
I also thought it was interesting how she said how refreshing these community leaders tackle controversial matter head on. They didn't run and hide. They didn't make lame excuses. They weren't defensive in their speech. A lot of people are seeing that paragraph and saying, well, where's Sean Christopher Ward? Where is he coming out and saying, and, you know, like addressing things or trying to like tackle it head on and be like brave and come out himself and talk about it. Instead, he's like, you know, blocking everybody allegedly on social media, only responding to friendly articles, you know, being written about it and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things too. It's like, well, when you start to engage with the negative stuff, you know, what's one big action that he could do that would just make everybody happy? Yeah. Would it just be to be like, you know what? You know, as much as I want to push that I have changed and all these things and I am, you know, a different person, you know, I'll respectfully withdraw my
I was
shit.
gonna say that'd probably be the
Like,
best move on his
and just
part.
like, you know, does he need to write an article? Does he make a post, make a video? What does he need to do where everybody involved's like, okay,
yeah,
like, you know, like
good,
what's
that kind of thing.
yeah? I mean,
and then the last thing I'll read from this piece is I thought this was interesting. El Dorado has long dealt in the rehabilitation of human beings. In fact, Merrill Westland, who died in a plane crash with the Coots and the others, was director of what is now South Central Mental Health Counseling Center. We have embraced the Kansas Department of Corrections, first with that honor camp and later with the El Dorado Correctional Facility. It follows then that we should offer a man the opportunity to showcase his artwork, which allows him to earn a living while contributing to a valuable community resource, the Safe House, and without endangering the public. Ward agreed not to attend the local showing, although he said he has maintained a squeaky clean record since paying his debt to society. Again, the donation to the Safe House was made afterwards. They kind of make it seem like that was the plan all along, which, if that was the plan all along, makes him seem better, you know?
yeah.
But yeah, and that's where we are now. It's interesting because no news stories, like no news websites have picked it up or anything like that. Just the local El Dorado stuff. But
Here's another one of those weird questions where if you just think about it, you're like, huh, not really. So he doesn't go to a show, right? But they're not taking the show down. There's people who don't want the show, and then there's people who probably don't give a fuck, but would like to go see some art.
yeah,
See, I don't know if they kept the show going, which they did, obviously, right?
it's through September. So yeah,
Damn, that's long.
I think, right? Is that what it said? I can't remember.
So it's one of those things like, well, if you don't like it, don't go. Kinda.
Well, yeah,
Like, I mean, obviously they're not gonna go.
yeah. I think that's a given. Yeah,
The thing is, too, it's like, you know, you can't really ask for people to be like, well, no, I want to see it. For them to put any effort in saying, like, no, it should stay up. All you got is the museum sidestepping with articles that other people write that are, like, barely in favor, and they're really just jabs. Yeah. There's no real good, like they should have just... they should have just been like, you know what? This is too much for us. Fuck this. Yeah. And, like, withdrawn. That's what they should have done.
I will say, too, on that last opinion article, it mentions nothing about the protesters' perspective. They didn't reach out to the protesters at all and like ask for an opinion or something, even though they got quotes from the Christopher Ward guy. But protesters were commenting on that, saying, like, yo, like, you didn't even try to reach out to us. And then they responded back by saying, or never mind, it said something like, the protesters made a comment and talking about how the article was ridiculous. And then the writer of the article came out, responded to it, and said, we reached out to you. You had your chance to, like, say something. And then the person responded back, like, you never reached out to any of us. So who knows what's going on there?
I know, because the same thing happened the opposite direction with the guy who's involved. So it's like, he could have easily said, like, you didn't reach out to me, and then it's wrong. But when the protesters say you didn't reach out to me, it's right.
Yeah, I know. It could be
so
either one.
Like,
yeah.
Who the fuck knows? And like when it's the protesters, who is the liaison that fucking you contact? Or is it just like an open all post and everybody can comment? Like, how do you contact the protesters?
It definitely, during this, there was definitely one prominent protester. And
that was like the head of all protesters.
Yeah, she's the one who kind of started raising awareness about it, and then actually would make events, Facebook events, to like bring people down.
Which you could contact those for sure. Anyway, even if that's all you did, you could reach out to those groups and be like, hey, I just want to make sure we're all communicating.
Yeah, for sure.
So you know what I'm thinking, I know what you're thinking, kind of thing.
So yeah,
crazy.
Interested what you guys think. Oh gosh. Interested what you guys think of it, because it is a local issue and it's a very touchy subject. There's a lot of aspects involved in just this story that really makes you think, I feel like. I mean, you and I just having the conversation about rehabilitation alone, you know, like, when is it okay to start doing stuff? Like, it's a very interesting conversation to have, and I think it's an important one too, especially, like you said, in the climate that we're living in, where everybody's kind of on display and on the chopping block.
How much do you need to factor that in? Yeah, for sure.
But the show's going through September, so I don't know when this podcast is going to come out, but I'm assuming it's going to be sometime in there. So go ahead and leave a comment, you guys. Let us know what you think. If you have any interesting takes on it or anything like that, we'd love to hear it. And if there's any crazy updates on this story, we'll make sure to bring them to you guys here on the show.
Hell yeah. Make sure that if you liked this at all, if you appreciated the conversation, the back and forth between Cole and I.
We did a lot of research in this one, okay, guys?
Yeah, Cole did do a lot of research.
There's screenshots and everything like that. It was nuts.
But if you just, if you learned anything, thought something thought-provoking, just go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already and give us a little like,
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
That would be, honestly, really great.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, thank you for listening. Until next time, peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings to you all.